And they will smile all the way to the bank, even as thousands and thousands of Africans die and millions are displaced.
It is on 9th September 2025, 2 days before the Ethiopian New Year. Africa's largest hydroelectric project has been inaugurated 14 years later. Prime Minister Meles Zenawi announced this project in April 2011. Zenawi would later die in 2012, a year after the construction of the GERD was started. Now, these are the facts about the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. How was the project funded? The government turned to Ethiopians to help crowdsource the dam's fund. No IMF, no World Bank, and no foreign aids and donor funds. The overwhelming majority of the dam was funded through Ethiopian state institutions, but an official told state media that from 2023 to 2024 alone, an estimated 1.712 billion birr, roughly $21 million was raised by Ethiopians. From 2022 to 2025, another official said Ethiopia's diaspora contributed $10 million. The public sector workers contributed part of their salaries, and bonds were issued to Ethiopians who wished to lend. The main message about the GERD was that it would be funded entirely at home. Now, according to the World Bank report, as at 9th September 2025, of the approximately 600 million people in Africa, roughly 40% of the continent's population lack reliable electricity. The sub-Saharan Africa alone represents 85% of the world's population without power. The cost of the dam was $5 billion. The energy output is 6,450 megawatts. The volume is 74 billion cubic meters. The surface is 1,800 kilometers square and height is 145 meters. Now, in comparison to Kenya, according to KenGen and government advertising agency websites, Kenya has hit a new record electricity demand of 2,368.28 megawatts as at 2025. However, total energy demand stands at 42,943.11 megawatts.
The fact that you have raised $5 billion without debt, without borrowing, without support from others, makes us believe that indeed Africa can take charge of its own destiny. We can emancipate our people from debt, from begging across borders.
Now, considering the inauguration of the GERD, Kenya is ready to sign a power purchase agreement with Ethiopia to take reserve power from the 6,450 megawatts Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, said President William Ruto.
It exemplifies the scale and ambition of African-led infrastructure and aligns with Africa Union's vision of continental energy connectivity. Despite Africa's vast renewable resources, the continent accounts for only 6% of global energy use, while nearly half of Africans, over 600 million people, still lack access to electricity.
The project has, however, been criticized. Egypt and Sudan historically controlled most of the Nile's waters through agreements signed in 1929 and 1959. Although Ethiopian officials have repeatedly insisted that the dam will not harm the interest of the downstream countries, this has not alleviated the concerns. Egypt and Sudan fear it could undermine the access to the river and have knock-on impacts for agriculture and urban water supplies. They issued a joint statement last week describing the dam as a threat.
The enemies of Africa are regrouping. They want to start another major proxy war right in Africa.
As the chairperson of the African Union Commission, it's also my duty to echo Egypt and Sudan's concerns With regards to the unimpeded flow of the Nile water, His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy reassured everybody in his statement, and he said, "This dam is not meant to harm anyone."
The path to peace and prosperity lies in working together, not division.
Ethiopia is considered Africa's water tower because of the generous precipitation it enjoys and its many rivers, and hydropower would play a large role in remedying its chronic energy shortages. Comparable to GERD, the Grand Inga Dam is a series of 7 proposed hydroelectric power stations at the site of the Inga Falls in Democratic Republic of Congo. If built as planned, the 40 to 70 gigawatts project will be the largest power station in the world. Now remember, 1 gigawatts is equivalent to 1,000 megawatts. Now imagine 70 gigawatts. What would that relate to? The project would be located across the Congo River. Its construction has constantly been affected with the ongoing political instability.
The enemies of Africa are regrouping. They want to start another major proxy war right here in Africa. In this case, the proxy war that they would want to start here in Africa has to do with water. Water is already a very scarce resource globally. When you look at regions like Kashmir region, the fight there is not just about the territory, but it is about the fact that 3 major rivers have their origins in the Kashmir region. Hence, that decades-old conflict between Pakistan and India. So here in Africa, they are going to use the Nile River to start another conflict, and it will, on the surface of it, appear like a conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt, but in reality, it's going to be a proxy war. You are going to see the major players begin to realign. They are going to begin to realign so that there are those who will quietly begin to ensure that Egypt is in a strong position, an even stronger position, to begin taking action to fan those flames of war. You will also see those who supposedly mean well stand by Ethiopia. They are going to be in the shadows, pulling strings that are supposedly helping Ethiopia. You are going to see them use all tools in their evil toolbox, including even triggering another civil war in Ethiopia, which is why at this point, we must make concerted calls to our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, from the Oromo community, from the Tigray community, from the Amhara community, from all the communities in Ethiopia. We must not lose sight of who the enemy is. The enemy is not, we are not each other's enemies. We as the African people must stop treating each other as enemies. That's the first thing that they like to do. Find out who can be the puppets that we can use to fan these flames, to start this conflict, to keep this conflict going. So we must be particularly vigilant. Join the dots. You just have to look at the major powers that have exploited Africa for decades, that continue to do so. You just have to look at the new entrants. Ask yourself, who are the people who are fanning the flame? Who are the people who are fanning the conflict?